Welcome to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com, WeatherTech, Hum by Verizon, RockAuto.com, and State Farm. Here's your MotorWeek podcast host, John Davis.
And thank you, Alec Webb, and welcome everyone to MotorWeek podcast number 185 here at MotorWeek Central, Studio C in beautiful downtown Owings Mills, Maryland. I have around our table today our writer-producer, Brian Robinson.
Thanks for having me, John.
Our road test producer, Ben Davis.
Hello, everyone.
And you are welcome. FYI reporter, Stephanie Hart.
Hi, thanks for having me.
And our video producer, editor, Joe Ligo, is on camera and on mic today.
Lucky me.
Absolutely. We're all lucky, Joe. And we've got 4 big things to cover, plus viewer questions, a rant and rave, if anyone can think of something they'd like to get out there. And we're going to start with a vehicle that actually has been out for a little bit of a while, but we finally got our hands on one here at the office so everyone could drive it. And that's the 2018 Nissan Leaf. I'll set it up a little bit. This is second generation. It has more powerful electric motor. It has a bigger battery and a still bigger battery yet to come. Current range is about 150 miles, as Nissan says, although just getting into it today, it showed like 173. What do you think? It's an interesting little car. My personal feeling is a big improvement over the previous one, but is that enough?
That's a good question. Is that enough?
Yeah.
Styling-wise, I'd say it takes a big jump over the last one.
Does that mean you like it, hate it, or what?
No, I like it. I think it doesn't try and scream electric to you like maybe the last one did a little bit.
Or milk toast.
I didn't think it really looked that much different. I mean,
Yeah, I think it still screams electric to me. I like it from the outside. I took a brief ride in it. It was a little bit hard for me to get comfortable in it right away.
Seats are kind of hard.
Yeah, and it needs a telly wheel, honestly. I don't know if it's available or not. It tilts, but it doesn't really even tilt that great. Mm-hmm. But I was eventually able to find a quasi-comfortable position. And a couple of things I really like about the car are the ability it's an easy switch to turn off all the regenerative braking.
Yeah, that is nice. The E pedal.
Yeah, and with it off, it brakes just like a conventional car. And the other thing I liked was the eco button. When you hit it, it really, I'm going to call it a throttle. I mean, until Webster's changes the definition. Technically, it's a rheostat. But anyway, in eco, the throttle mapping is really gentle. And it gradually gives you power, a lot like a conventional car. So if you were to put anybody in this car that might not be comfortable driving an EV car and hit an eco button and turn the regen brake off, the thing feels just like a conventional economy gas car. And that to me is awesome.
Brian or Joe?
I haven't really spent much time with it, but I think it is still the number one selling EV, right?
Yeah, I believe it is.
I would say the Bolt has better numbers as far as range, but I think the Leaf is still cheaper and still one everyone's familiar with. So
I think the Bolt's more fun to drive than this, even than this improved one. I don't remember the rear being quite as tall on the older one. I know it was taller than, say, the Volt, but it seems to have adopted a little more of that quasi-SUV look, which the Bolt has proven very successful with. There is, if everyone says, wait a minute, it doesn't get the mileage range that a Bolt does, they're right, but they're getting ready to come out with a larger battery in the Leaf, 60 kilowatt hour, which is the same as the Bolt, so it'll probably pretty much match it in range.
We don't include i3s in these direct comparisons, like we always default to
I think we
Bolt
do, but with only a 100-mile range, that's sort of becoming,
barely 100 miles.
The one we just had was 140, though.
But
that's with the gas engine.
That's in the gas.
You don't get the range extender.
It was 100.
Every time I saw it full charge, it said 140.
It's not EPA at that.
Yeah, not even.
And I must say I've not had a chance to. I never got that kind of mileage. But anyway, I think the i3 is a little bit different class, but I like the i3.
More expensive.
Yeah. I like the i3 a lot.
More expensive and smaller.
Yeah.
Not nearly as practical.
It'll be interesting to see. I think the Leaf kind of quietly, like you said, it's the best-selling SUV, but
was.
it does it
I'm
kind
not-
of quietly.
Best-selling
SUV.
I'm sorry, EV. I'm sorry.
And I'm not so sure it is anymore. It was at one time. But anyway,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So I'm interested to see what this generation will do, whether it'll kind of still be like in its own little niche, or is it going to, with the bigger batteries, is it going to expand to a wider market? I mean, surely people aren't going to cross-shop it against, a Model S or anything like that.
No, but they'll cross-shop it against a Bolt.
Yeah,
Which
so
currently is kind of the mileage champ for the money.
yeah, so I'm just curious to see how. I think also Nissan has kind of quietly built this infrastructure for these, that if you're shopping for a car and you think, well, it's all kinds of places I could take it to get it fixed. There's dealer support, there's parts support. It's not, it doesn't seem like a regional thing like, maybe Teslas are in some ways, that, you have to have a store within, 50 miles to feel comfortable about getting work done.
Nissan's been at this a long time. They did a pretty good job of marketing, I think, the first Leaf. And I think they've actually done a better job than Chevy has done with the Bolt. So, but I think it's a nice car. It feels very roomy inside. Maybe not as much fun to drive as something else, but most people don't buy a car for fun to drive anyway.
I haven't driven it yet, but I want to. I like the look.
You've been around it, so
Yeah.
what'd you think of the looks?
I sort of agree with what Joe says.
Yeah.
I like the look of it, and it's pretty stylish. Doesn't scream EV to me. So
Yeah. It does have that front end that we've gotten used to on Nissans since the Maximo, and now
Right,
on just
the
about everything else.
V-motion
Yeah.
thing?
Okay, Nissan Leaf, MSRP starting at just under 30. That's without the with or without the rebate, the tax rebates?
I would imagine that's without.
That's without,
Yeah. So the car we have out here, I should mention this: the technology package does include their ProPilot semi-autonomous driving feature, which is fairly limited. It'll keep you centered in the lanes if you take a gentle curve or you're on a straightaway. Allows you to take your hands off the wheels for a few seconds before it starts letting you know you're in trouble. And you just wonder, like a lot of these systems, what the real value of it is at this point. But it does have that, and it does affect some other features. Before I leave it, so who's actually driven it? Ben drove it. Joe, did you?
I drove the last one. I
Okay,
haven't driven
and-
this one yet.
Well, like the Bolt, when you put the regen braking on it, you can do one pedal driving.
Right, yeah.
What do you think about one pedal driving, where you just use the accelerator and you let the regenerative braking pretty much stop you? Does that appeal to you,
I like the idea, but it would be something you'd have to get used to.
Brian?
I love it. I drove that i3 we had in a lot.
It would do that. That's
and
right.
Yeah, you pretty much never had to touch the brake, except for an emergency situation. No, I didn't mind it at all. I think it works well.
I like it a lot, but I think there's room for I like it when you can dial in exactly how much regen you want.
Which most of them
Yeah,
you can do that.
Oh, really?
See, I'm going to be the odd one out then and say I'm the kind of like gas mileage hyper miler guy in gas cars, so I'm super used to just like putting it in neutral and coasting down hills without. I know that like
You should not admit that. It's a very unsafe thing to do.
it's so I'm not
Outta here, Joe.
I don't like the idea of having to always have my foot on the pedal when I'm driving. I like to be able to let off and I'm used to momentum carrying me, even though I know putting it in maximum regen mode is what's best for your range, which is kind of the opposite of a gas car where you kind of like want to coast as
You want
much
to
as
stay
you
off the
can.
brake. I like the Bolt because you've got the pedals.
I do
on
like that.
on
The steering wheel.
Steering wheel handle, so you can actually use that instead of your foot to stop you.
Yeah. So
Anyway.
maybe I'll be a convert eventually. I don't know. It
I
might
didn't
take
like
time.
it at first, but I've kind of, when I do drive it now, it's like, okay, this is not so bad. 2019 Jeep Cherokee. The Cherokee has gotten a freshening new face because basically an awful lot of people hated the original styling, which was so un-Jeep. It's
Yeah.
got a host of other improvements. I think it certainly looks better now. Any other comments?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how much everyone hated on that when it came out in 14. But yeah, people bought them like crazy.
Like crazy.
Yeah, they've sold a ton of those things. So, obviously it needed updated, and they have. The biggest thing for me, that was one of the first FCA vehicles to have the 9-speed. And, it was just horrible programming. And just the way it worked, and they've definitely got that squared away. Plus the new 2-liter engine, I think it works better with that as well. So much better driving experience, and I'm not sure it looks that much better. It looks a little more
I'm not sure it
Jeepish,
looks
but-
that much different. I mean, they didn't move the marker lights or anything
No,
else.
well, that
It
we
looks very
had one on
similar.
the we had one on the Goss set and had it up on the lift for a segment that they were shooting for Goss's garage, and we looked at it and we're kind of like, I think all of the changed parts are just in the plastic. I don't like it's all in the plastic grill and bumper and stuff.
Well, yeah,
I don't think
they
they
didn't change the
actually
structure.
the sheet metal doesn't have any actual changes. It's
Right,
just
it's not
all
a new gen. It's just
right.
an update.
So
yeah.
there's probably somebody at Chrysler who they're like, find the cheapest way to redesign that front end and don't change any of the body panels, but move the lights around.
But
And-
isn't it amazing when you change the details?
Oh, yeah.
That you really can change the overall appearance of something. Ben, you've been quiet. Ben, I should say, is our real off-road guy. So
I agree with everybody that I didn't see a whole lot of changes. I didn't get a chance to drive this particular refresh yet, but I was one of the few people that really liked the original one. So
Yeah, a friend of mine has the original one. He swears by it. But I agree with you that 9-speed is definitely, the longer FCA has had that 9-speed transmission, the more kinks they've worked out of it. And it's funny because it's mostly computer stuff. It's not any mechanical changes.
Right,
It's
just software updates. Yeah.
software updates.
I thought it drove like a totally different vehicle from that aspect. The whole drivetrain smoothness has just jumped way, way up on it.
And do you think Jeep is trying to move this up market a little since the new Compass is a little bit bigger and a little bit nicer? Like,
I'm sure they'd like to be able to charge as much money as they possibly can for it. So, yeah, I think, although the one that...
and 3 powertrains is kind of interesting because some of the, you got a lot of choices there between the 4-wheel drives and the engines. I guess there's only one transmission, but...
I mean, as I remember, the Cherokee is based on the same chassis that they use for the Dodge Dart.
Yeah,
And
which ironically enough has gone away.
Yeah, has gone
Cherokee
away.
Soldiers on.
But this is primarily a U.S. engineered chassis, although I think it probably does have some Fiat roots to it. But I think that makes it very different than all the rest of the smaller quote unquote Jeeps, which are clearly based on
More Fiat.
And so it just has a sturdier feel to it, I personally think, which I like, and I think Jeep owners do too.
I agree with you. I drove that one.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was great. Wonderful power. Made me feel really confident behind the wheel.
Yeah. So all hail the Cherokee. I'm an old Cherokee guy. I love Cherokees, and I think it'll
XJ for life.
Yeah, pretty much. Stephanie, since you spoke up, let's move on to a vehicle that you know more about than the rest of us, the 2019 Lexus ES. Once upon a time, this was the vehicle that kept Lexus alive, and I think it's still probably their best-selling car, but I'm not sure about that.
I would
don't know
think
if the
it's gotta be-
IS is. What?
Oh, car, yeah,
yeah.
But I'm sure the RX.
Oh, the
is,
RX
yeah.
is the best-selling SUV. Anyway, the ES 300, 350, and 300H, the hybrid models, very important vehicles to Lexus, and more proof that while some are dropping mid-size sedans, Toyota/Lexus is basically still investing in them. So what'd you think?
So 302 horsepower V6, smooth ride, a lot of power, quiet cabin, felt very comfortable inside, luxurious inside and out. I mean, I loved it.
Do you think it felt like a true luxury car? Because in the beginning, the ES was like, yeah, it's a Lexus, but it's like a dolled-up Toyota. So
Yeah, I definitely don't feel like it was a dolled-up Toyota at
not
all.
a dolled-up Camry.
No, and I've driven Camrys, I've driven Corollas. So no, this was definitely a luxury vehicle.
They've put an awful lot of the features of even the LS available on the car. So they're sort of following, I think, the BMW Mercedes route in that aspect.
Trickle down.
Trickle
luxury.
down, but trickle down awfully fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it has the whole. You said in your first look video it has Amazon, Alexa, or whatever, and all
Yeah.
the voice stuff. Which
Oh yeah, it's awesome. You can get packages delivered to your car. I don't know who would want to
Oh, yeah,
do
that's
that.
the new
but,
Amazon thing.
But apparently,
Yeah, you can walk.
It's pretty hot.
That's Amazon's newest delivery system. You can tell them where the car is parked, and they will find the car and unlock
putting
the
the
door.
And I-
and
Yeah.
put it-
even though I probably wouldn't use that specific service, I think it's good for Toyota because some of their infotainment systems have lagged a little bit behind the rest of the market, and So getting Amazon in there allows them to kind of leapfrog maybe some of the competitors a little bit on that.
You know, when you think about it, Lexus has got, short of the Europeans, has got one of the most extensive sedan lines still out there. Because right, they've got 4 sedans still.
ES,
IS, ES, GS, and LS. I mean, that's a lot of sedans in a market where sedans are going away. It'll be interesting to see if they continue that commitment.
They'll drop the GS or one of those middle ones in there, maybe.
I thought they were going to drop the GS for years, but they've sort of made that into their larger performance platform, using the IS as the smaller ones. But the ES actually you can now get as a performance model, correct?
You can get an ES F Sport.
And that's the first time for that.
Yeah, and I drove that, and what a ride. I could drive that for hours. Really peppy. It was luxurious, but had a little edge to it, which I really liked.
And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, the engine's the same, but they did a lot to the suspension. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, did you drive the hybrid version at all?
I didn't get a chance to drive that.
Basically, I think it's the same system that Toyota is using in the Camry hybrid. So based on that, we know it's smooth, capable, and probably bulletproof.
Yeah, I'm curious how many of those they actually sell.
You see a lot of them in California.
Yeah.
And actually, I used to see quite a few of them in Florida. So, Okay, we're going to stick with Stephanie because she did something very special. She recently went to the first ever Greenbrier Concours event, and folks that are not familiar with Greenbrier, it's this very famous, very old resort in West Virginia that has probably entertained as many presidents as the White House has.
Yeah.
Anyway, tell us about the event. Was it successful? What was your experience? Should people put it on their calendar?
Oh, yeah, for sure. 100 of the finest cars from around the world were there. And I mean, some really, really spectacular cars. And Greenbrier is 1,100 acres, if you guys aren't familiar with that.
Jeez.
It's nestled between the Allegheny Mountains in West Virginia, and just opulence everywhere you look. So this was the perfect setting for the Concours d'Elegance.
Now, there was some speculation before they did this that they wouldn't get the turnout they were expected. Any idea how many cars they had?
About 100.
Okay.
Now, we did have some rain. We were fighting bad weather.
Right.
But still, people turned out. Everyone was happy to be there. And, I mean, the cars were just awesome.
What car stood out?
So I actually sat in Mr. Marriott's TRC Ferrari from 1957.
Wow.
Sweet.
Okay, that's pretty sweet.
I interviewed the car's caretaker. Wouldn't you want that job? Come on. Unbelievable.
Got that job.
So it's like full time. He just works for the owner of this car and
Yes.
just keeps it like
Well,
perfect.
he's probably got more than one car he looks after.
Yes,
Yeah.
he drives the cars to different car shows and concours. So I did have to take my shoes off before I got in the car. But I didn't mind.
Wow.
So I sat in there and we did an interview, and I learned about the car and everything, and it was really awesome. It's like I said, it's a gentleman's racer worth $5 million. And yeah, it was just had an amazing story. So I'm looking forward to telling more about that in my FYI segment.
The Greenbrier folks were very, very nice and accommodating to us, which is accommodating television crews is not always the easiest thing in the world. So we want to thank them for all of that and for the opportunity to cover the event for the first time they ever did it.
Oh yeah, it was just amazing.
Wow.
Let's move on to our viewer question. Tariq, via email, has asked, I bought a used car in 2017. Good for you. And I didn't know the previous owner was a smoker. I've tried ozone treatment, chlorine treatment, replaced the floor mats, had the interior detailed twice, and replaced the cabin air filter twice. The car still smells like cigarettes, especially when the air conditioner on. Is there anything else I can do before I just sell it?
Change the headliner out.
It gets into everything. Yeah. It gets into the headliner. It gets into the insulation that's under the carpet.
Soaks into the plastic.
Yeah. I'm not sure I don't know how you would have gotten in the car and taken it for a test drive without figuring it out. Tariq, I wish I had some solution for you, but I think the last time that Pat Goss was asked about this. He said, short of replacing all of the materials like carpets and so forth, there's not too much you can do to eliminate it completely. Now, if it is coming out of the air conditioner, it is possible, and you've probably tried this, that you can use some things like spray air fresheners and spray, the disinfectant?
Well, there's a product Goss had, I was thinking like Lysol, Febreze, that kind of thing. But there's a product Goss had called, talked about once where...
Frigifresh?
Frigifresh. It's like an expanding foam, and you have to, which I hate the idea of doing this, but you have to drill a hole into like your HVAC system under the hood, put a little hose in, fill it with this foam that expands out, and then I don't know if you suck the foam back out after. It's supposed to work on mold if you get mold in your AC system, but I would assume it would help take out the odor of that stuff too.
On that aspect, I would assume, Tariq, what you might want to do is find a technician who specializes, a shop that specializes in air conditioning systems.
Yeah.
But just doing that, I don't think is going to eliminate your problem.
I mean, when I bought my first car, it still had, it was like a used 10-year-old car that had a faint smell of smoke in it. And what I did is I just opened the windows on a summer day and just let it sit basically for a week with the windows open outside. And that helped a lot. I mean, it didn't make it perfect, but that made a huge difference.
Yeah.
Of course, don't let it get rained on or, that sort of thing. But just sit outside.
Then it will smell like wet smoke.
Right. So that's what I did is I just let my car sit outside with the windows down for days on end, and that helped. But, eventually I just kind of got used to the smell. You're 16. You're just glad to have a car at that point.
Ben, have you ever had an experience?
It seems like either I get used to it or it just eventually leaves, but I've had vehicles that have a smell to them, but it seems to eventually go away to me unless I'm nose blind to it at this point.
No, I do think there's something to be said for that. If you drive the same vehicle every day, I think your nose becomes desensitized to it.
That or a
old-fashioned baking soda.
Yeah, I was just going to say a lasagna pan
great.
full of baking soda,
right.
because that way it doesn't slide around and spill out on your seats. But just dump a bunch of Arm & Hammer in there.
I bet Tariq just got more answers than was bargained for. Thanks. Hope some of that helps. If not, let us know, and we'll take it to the next level. Before we close out this podcast, anyone got some rant and rave? Usually we always have something about traffic or driving that's driving us nuts, but anything? Let me throw one out there. A lot of the new cars are coming. Almost every car we get now has some form of lane keep assist in them. I don't know about you. I understand these are safety features, but they drive me crazy. Is it that we're all such poor drivers that we're constantly challenging the width of the lane?
We can't stay in the road.
And something's either beeping or the light comes on, or in the Nissan Leaf, the steering wheel keeps to buzz. I guess it's not a surprise that almost every test car that I get in that we've had in the shop here for more than a day or two, the system's turned off.
Yeah.
But does some of these new systems, are they just crazy bothersome to you?
To me, yeah, but on the opposite side of the stone, more and more people are getting licenses, and these people that are getting licenses are more and more
crazy
phone savvy. I'd
phone
say.
savvy. Okay,
Yeah.
That's a euphemism.
Yeah,
we
I
go.
agree with
I
Ben.
do like that technology is there.
It's so that when
To
the
protect
person
me.
is protecting them and protecting
Right,
us.
right.
I think it
That's a good
depends on
point.
the manufacturer. Some
I
systems
agree,
are better
yeah.
than others. I had one that almost put me into oncoming traffic once because it just got confused and it started.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
I find the automatic braking systems do that a lot. Recently on a big trip that I took, every time I got to a corner and there was a vehicle in the other lane, all the bells and whistles started lighting up and saying brake, brake, brake. So
I find that more so in Hondas than anything
it was
else.
the Honda Odyssey that we have, and I love the Honda Odyssey, don't get me wrong, but the systems, and it will keep you safe because it is letting you know that, if that person in the other lane was doing something wrong, I guess it's better to be too sensitive
Safety
than not
at all
sensitive.
costs.
And
Yeah. I mean, I like it, but it depends on the manufacturer as well. Some beep more than others. It just seems
But they
like
get your attention.
they do.
All right. Well, anyway, we may not like them, but we think they're safer. Is that a good just? Anybody else?
Much like autonomous
long as-
driving, I've said before, it's not for me, but I'm glad everyone
glad,
else has it, and you're using all of the safety.
As long as you can turn it off still, I'm cool.
That's, I think, the
I
biggest
like it
thing.
on and I like it.
If there's
Yeah.
a switch, I don't like when they take away my options. I like the option of having it or having it turned off. I get annoyed when they make it so you can't change it. That's tough.
When I can't turn off auto stop start,
Oh,
that's a deal
that's
breaker
another
for
one.
me. I would leave that car on the lot.
Yeah, a lot of people really hate auto stop start. They just hate it.
It's
I personally have gotten used to it. I don't care. But so
I think
you
I'm more
like to be
bo-
able to turn it off. What?
I think I'm more bothered by the principle of it than by the action of it. I don't know.
It's all about getting that little extra fuel economy out. So
Starter be damned, right?
I think if
I
you
guess.
can't turn it off, I'm not sure they can use it in the EPA. If you can turn it off, I don't think it can count towards the EPA mileage, but I'm not sure about that.
That sounds like something
Yeah.
that they would do.
Yeah, so it has to be, I mean, it's on the vehicles primarily for that. And that leads us into the something we'll probably be talking about again very soon, which is the whole 42-volt electrical system. It makes some of these things work better than others.
Yeah, well, that'll be another future lightning round.
Yeah, Brian, anything comment you want to make to close out the show?
No, I got nothing.
All right. I guess that's it. For Brian, Ben, Stephanie, Joe, and myself, thank you very much for listening. And for those of you watching on our video podcast, our MotorWeek podcast 185, please watch us every week on your public television station, or you can catch us on the Velocity channel. If you're not sure where to find us, go to motorweek.org, pull down at the top about the show. You'll find a new station finder that we've only been using for a couple of months. Put in your zip code or your city, and it instantly takes you to a detailed listing of where you can watch us. Just watch our YouTube channel. We've got a growing audience there, and we'd love to have more of you. Befriend us on Facebook. What else can I say? Is there anything we've missed?
Twitter,
Instagram, Twitter. If it's out there, you can
MySpace.
find MotorWeek. Thanks very much.
We're on MySpace.
Are we on
we're not.
MySpace? No. Well, can't be everywhere. Thanks very much for listening and watching. I'm John Davis. For all of us at MotorWeek, we'll see you soon.
You've been listening to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com, WeatherTech, Hum by Verizon, RockAuto.com, and State Farm. For additional information on podcasts, videos, and showtimes, visit our website at motorweek.org. And watch MotorWeek, television's longest-running automotive magazine series each week on your local PBS station.